Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Right? Let's make an impact.
Yeah.
You're only one relationship away from changing your life. We say that all the time on the show, and I'm a true believer in that.
Yeah.
You know, for you brokers that may be struggling, you're only one shipper away from changing your financial outcome, but you can't make it about you.
Right.
You got to make it about them.
Yeah. What's going on, eCarry Check family? Thanks for being here. I'm excited for today.
Yeah.
I'm going to toot my horn today. It's my 2 years being at eCarry Check.
Love that.
I've loved being here. I've loved meeting the people, just growing this community. It's been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You add so much value
I appreciate that.
to eCarry Check and the people that are out there.
Yeah.
Just keep grinding.
I appreciate that.
You've grown so much.
I don't mean to toot my horn, but it's just no place I'd rather be.
Yeah, you got to.
So,
and we're on our channel. We're here saying hi to everybody and doing what we do.
Yeah.
I love that. You know, I look back. Have you watched our first YouTube?
Oh gosh, have I? Yeah. If any of you have been here since day one, yeah, we struggled a little bit.
We couldn't get a mic to work. We couldn't get the camera to work. Heck, I think the first video you and I did, it was on my laptop on the little,
Yep.
you know, the little camcorder thing that's on the top.
You just flip it.
You just flip it over, and I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm excited, man. I'm more excited today what we're talking about. Hey, Jim. It looks like we got free game Trapper in the house too as well.
Morning.
Thanks for being here, Jim, too.
Yeah,
good to hear from you, man. But I'm excited to talk about today. You know, we always talk about cold calling, and it's super important. Obviously, we're not going away from that.
Right.
But we also know there's other ways to kind of reach out to these shippers, right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to kind of talk through some of these examples or maybe some tactics today, just to give everyone kind of a different point of view.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Obviously, we talk a lot on cold calling, picking this thing up.
Right.
You have to be very balanced. It's no different than your stock, your financial portfolio, right? You got to have a balanced approach to reaching out to people.
Right.
And so is cold calling important? Yeah.
100%, yeah.
But there's other things that can go along with it. And we're going to talk about that today. I know it says 3 ways to get clients without picking up the phone. We're going to bring the house. I think we got 4 or 5 here.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to work through this with you, Nate. So,
yeah.
Obviously, the week has been, it's been electric week. A lot of people calling, specifically asking, sales questions, sales leads. eCarrier Check has the best leads.
Everything sales.
Yeah.
Everything sales.
It is.
Obviously, with this market right now, it's not the best. Honestly, it's every day I live at sales. So, I know this is going to be a good show and have some value.
Yeah.
We have the privilege to go and to that brokerage here that's local.
Yeah.
So we get to see some of their tactics, and this is one of them was emailing. Last week I believe they were sending like cold letters.
Yep.
Trying to get their foot in the door kind of thing. So there's some really interesting tactics over there.
They definitely keep it creative. Any sales questions, any questions at all, please. Congrats on the 2 years. I'm more excited probably about that than anything, to be honest with you, Nate. It's
David Cox, what's up, brother? Funky Frog in the house.
It has been a funky friggin' Wednesday. I love his logo.
Yeah,
his logo is ridiculous.
His website too. Then
it's so good. I'd like to have him on. If I could get a Funky Frog shirt, I friggin' love that.
I think he has merch on.
I think he does have merch. I need to go on there and buy one. Yeah. I'm gonna go on there and buy one. But I think what I learned this week, I had the opportunity to go work with those guys and say, hey, I'd like to try a couple different tactics and see if this works. And they're like our little playground. We get an opportunity to go over there and say, let's try this and see if this works and this and see if this works.
Right.
Last week, you're right. They were sending out cold, handwritten letters to people. And I don't know what the feedback has been. I don't know when those letters technically went out. I didn't go mail them myself, but what an interesting tactic to get a letter instead of an actual email. But we sent out hooks, is what I call them. And I think it's really important to this takes me back to my dad. I remember going down and we were fishing. I was a little kid fishing, and there for a while, I'd go down there. I never took the friggin' pliers. I didn't take a net, right? Yeah. And he always talked about, well, you're not ready to catch a fish, right? And I talk about that a little bit here and there. But as I got a little more sophisticated when I got older, I started to complain because I wanted to catch specific types of fish, right? And And so if something's not working, fish different.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we sent out 150 emails, and I got to kind of direct how those emails were going to be written. And this was probably one of the more interesting things. You know, those guys were over there were using ChatGPT, you know, to help them write, you know, not only the actual emails, but the subject lines and all this stuff. And I was like, let's scrap that. Let's not do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Let's keep it really informal, and let's write a subject line that's in all lowercase and a question. In the subject line, we wrote literally a open-ended question that was 7 words or less, right? And it was there was no capitalization. It was really informal, right? And then in the email itself, we wrote an email that was also really informal. We posed a question saying, you know, how many of your current, I think they're a brokerage, so they were saying how many of your current, because they were going after really specific shippers. They weren't just blasting out to all these friggin' shippers. They were going after really specific people that they have identified that they needed, right? That they fit their niche. And so they were saying, you know, how many of your loads get posted up on load boards, right? And going down this really informal email. So here were the results. And I thought this was interesting, right? Sent out 150 emails. They got 12 responses back in 24 hours.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Like, you think of how many friggin' emails they're getting. They're blasting out all these emails.
Right.
And because it looked different, right? That's a pretty good open rate.
Right.
I'll take 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the action item was, it was a question essentially about their business, about how their processes worked, and then how it was a statement on how they did it, and then a quick link. Hey, would you have 10 minutes this next week where we could sit down and talk about how you're procuring and how we could benefit you as well?
So different. I like that.
Yeah.
That's really a different way of going about it. Interesting how that subject line was kind of, have you posted, you know, how many loads of yours are on the load board, right?
Right.
I think that's a different angle at it, and that's probably going to catch a shipper eye.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much shippers think about that, but if there are some out there, they're going to open that email.
It was a different kind of email. So when you're out there trying to send your emails, boy, fish different.
Yeah.
You know, because they're getting blasted with hundreds of emails. Right. It doesn't take much to get a shipper's email. It doesn't take much to identify who the person is that you need to talk to. And that could be by picking up the phone and then going on their website and seeing if there's an email format, and away you go. You can get their email fairly quickly. You got to zig instead of zag.
So obviously emailing still a big thing here. When, you know, if we're trying to worry less about picking up the phone, obviously, you know, we're still big believers in that, right? Don't get us wrong. Yeah. But emailing still, it's a good tactic. But like you said, let's make it different. Let's say something different. Yeah. You know, little as just changing the subject line. Yeah. That can change the way you fish. Yeah. So I like that. I like that.
It was 3 sentences. A quick deal. It wasn't anything formal. We just wanted to see if we could get 10 minutes of their time during that week or next week. I'll have to follow back up with them to find out from that 12 how many ended up in the results of an actual meeting. But I do know they got 2 meetings out of there right away.
That's fair.
But I don't know what the rest of the results have been since I checked in with them.
Right.
So
that's interesting.
Wild way of going out and saying, okay, I got to have a barrage of emails and cold calls, right? And if you're emailing, be different.
Yes.
Be completely different.
Right. So you know, we talk about this every day. We talk with constantly brokers that are just getting into this business. Yeah. You know, one thing that we talked about yesterday before we left was working on a brand. You know, what should these brokers that don't have a brand out there? You know, what should they be doing? What should they be creating? You know, shippers want to. It's a way to build trust, right? Yeah. So how, you know, what are shippers looking for, you think? You know, what should these new freight brokers be doing to help build their brand? Yeah, I think this is a David Cox question. If he can respond that's a prime example.
This guy's the king, right? Yeah. He went on LinkedIn. He started to talk about his journey. He did the Dennis Brown stuff. Yep. You know, he talked about his journey. This guy is he's got a really I love his logo. It's different. He's also not, first class freight or he just has a little bit different of a spin. And this guy's built a brand and he's just starting his journey, right? Honestly, I'd love to have him on to talk about how he's done this because, when he announced that he's ready to go, and I looked, I think there was 50 or 60 likes.
Yeah.
This cat's doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Right. And I think what's really important is you don't have to be an expert. Would you send an email telling them about a cause my company is supporting? Yeah, absolutely.
That's a different one too.
Especially when I friggin' love this, by the way. Tamika, nice thoughts.
Yeah.
When you can relate to people outside of work in something that you share common direction in, hey, my company's, giving back to this cause. Well, hey, I saw that we had this and we are doing this as well, or we're relating. I love this.
Yeah.
Now,
that's huge.
Are you going to get somebody's attention every time?
Probably
no, but it's nice to share. Hey, we're giving back to this cause, and here's a blast out email. And honestly, Tamika, I would probably write up just this cool little, I wouldn't get crazy, but if there's a link or something where you caught a little bit of the local news or something like that, I would just say, hey, I just wanted to share with you something that our company's doing, and I'm proud of it. And I want to just toot my own horn.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with tooting your own horn. I love that you started the show that way because it's something that you have to do. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Right.
You have to do it yourself. And I think this is a wonderful idea.
I like that.
And a really interesting way of doing it.
Yeah.
Back to the brand though, what's interesting about David is, and his story, is that this guy really isn't he's not vocally, he doesn't have a show, right? He's not going live all the time. He's not doing a bunch of videos, but he's been consistent. There's the key, right? Underline, bold, italics.
Consistent.
He's been consistent with his messaging, with his direction, with sharing his story. And I love that.
Yes.
You don't have to be an expert. I'm not even an expert, but I love to talk.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of how he did the website.
Yeah.
I love how he's done LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a great friggin' platform. Facebook is a really good platform. And I think I would love to see, when I get to meet him in person someday, which I hope.
Yeah.
I hope his business cards are different. I hope they're shaped like frogs in tie-dye.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is what I want to see from him.
Right.
I have a lot of expectations of you.
Yeah.
But I think you have to work on your brand, and your website doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Your message doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to stay consistent.
I love that. That's good. I love that. I love that consistency, when it comes to, just connecting with people. Right?
Yeah.
And you hit it on the head. David's really good at that. I see his LinkedIn. And
just to clarify, sorry to interrupt you here.
No, you're good.
How can a brand get you a client? There's a question, right? A brand can get you a client because everybody is on here.
Right.
And you're like, well, who's this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Funky Frog?
Right.
So you're going to look him up.
Mm-hmm.
And in some particular cases, maybe you look him up on Facebook. Depends on how old you are.
Yeah.
If you're over 35-ish, I'd say 37, you're probably going to look him up on Facebook, right? If you're a professional, you're going to look him up on LinkedIn, right? Because a lot of professionals stay on the LinkedIn platform. If you're younger, maybe you're on, another platform or two. We like YouTube. We're big fans of YouTube.
Yeah.
But how does a brand get you that? Because people are going to look you up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so if you stay consistent,
yeah.
Not like my dad who posts once a year.
Yeah.
He's like,
Happy birthday, Junior.
Yeah, I know. This is literally all my dad does.
Yeah.
But it's the way it is. David says, different is better. I like to market with animals. It worked for Geico and Cheeto. I'll email you my business card. It's very different. See, I love this. I love this. I'd like to have you on, David. Like, let's chop it up someday and talk about your story, man, because I think it's so unique and it's so different than everybody else that jumped in.
Since the first day I saw Funky Frog sign up for a demo, I don't think I forgot the name.
No.
I even told my parents, I was like, "You got to see this." So, he left a great taste in my mouth.
Yep.
Hard to forget.
Yeah.
So that's so different.
That's what it's all about.
Let's transition here.
Sure.
We obviously talk to some brokers that have clients, right? I know there's some that don't that come to us, but there's some that do have some clients. Talk about maybe asking your current client for referral. Is that something brokers can do? Should they be doing that? It's a good idea.
That's a good question. Sometimes an awkward
That's
question,
what I was
right?
thinking. Yeah.
You're on the phone with the client and you're like, yeah, like, do you know anybody that needs some freight? And I'll tell you, one of the better sales reps that I've met. He hates cold calling.
Yeah,
he's terrible at it. But I tell you what, this guy has never been afraid to build a relationship, and he asks every single person that he talks to. He doesn't care if it's a driver. He doesn't care if it's a shipper. He always is asking, hey, who do you know that I should know that maybe would help me with more connections? And he's always just trying to build his web, if you will, of connections, of relationships. And literally, this guy hasn't picked up the phone in 5 years, and he has more clients than most brokers.
Right.
All because he, focuses on relationships, right? And so it's not an awkward question if you have focused on them, right? If you're just kind of a transactional relationship, I don't know how the referral thing's going to go.
Yeah.
Right?
And I definitely wouldn't ask for a referral that first week you're starting.
Right.
Yeah. I see where you're going.
You see where I'm going with this. So what he likes to do is if there's a shipper, I guess every load has a shipper and a receiver, and he's making a relationship with every single person. Well, why do you buy this? What are you getting out of this? What do you do with this? Well, who should I be talking to? And he really actually genuinely cares about them. And he builds relationships to the point where, he's texting a lot of his people. He's getting those referrals. I think referrals, once you get current customers and you give them top-notch service and you're not focused on transactions, boy, I tell you what, it's amazing how you can build referrals.
Right.
And just playing this, like, I need to focus on all relationships. The transaction's cool. How does it benefit them? He's in it not for the transaction and the financial reward. He's in it because he enjoys a conversation.
Right. Truly, I mean, back to the relationship word, man. Like, building these relationships can really lead to different doors or different roads that can truly grow your business. So build those relationships.
Absolutely.
This
is an interesting question.
Can you ask your client to write you a referral for your website? Not referral, a reference. Can you write a client to write you a reference for your website?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
My only hesitation is that people are sharks.
Yeah.
And so if another broker sees that you
true.
have that client on there, I would just be a little bit careful. However, here's what I would do is, and funny enough, we used a referral method this last week. One of our better relationships that we can't get enough of helped us with another client. And funny enough, it's a broker to broker, conversation. Now it's a broker to broker conversation about, hey, my company's doing this. Is your company doing this? Yeah. Hey, how could we do this? And they've kind of put their guard down because of our kind of this triangle relationship that we've built.
Right.
And so what I would do, Tamika, personally, and I don't know what Mug Media is, but I'm kind of intrigued here. I love a coffee cup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't get enough of them.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I like the most, by the way, is when you put something hot in them and then it changes color and a picture shown or something like that. Maybe Funky Frog could do this, where it's like a black coffee cup and then it just like turns tie-dye. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's awesome.
But what I would personally do in your particular case, Tamika, is when I'm reaching out, I would build a good relationship with that shipper, that client. And then what I would personally do, and this would go for dispatchers too. We have a lot of dispatchers that call us, get a carrier, from a dispatcher standpoint, get your carrier to write a quick referral and say, hey, here's why I like Tamika. here's what she does for me. Here's the fair side of, of her rates or charges, how she finds things. She reacts quick. She's always looking to add value to me. Right. And what I would do is instead of putting it on your website for it to just be kind of out there, I would use it like a friggin' sniper rifle and strategically send it to people when it's necessary to close a deal, to grab maybe a little bit more of market share, right? Hey, here's why I'm doing this and here's what I'm doing. So there's nothing wrong with putting it on your website. I would just use it a little more strategic and use it in a sniper rifle sort of setting.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's nice.
I love referrals. You don't have to, I mean, yes, you're picking up the phone, but you're focused more on the relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not that transactional one. It's more of a, how do I benefit this guy?
Right, exactly. And, I should have mentioned this earlier too. We talk about maybe connecting with shippers right on LinkedIn. That's a good way to do it.
Yep.
But let's get deeper.
Okay.
Let's figure out what these shippers are interested in. What are they liking? What are they commenting on? I think that will help you leverage maybe those emails that you send out, or maybe on that phone call, or, obviously we're staying away from phone calls today, but, I think that kind of just seeing their network or the things they like, I think that could truly help you and leverage it.
So I got to tell you this story because, and I don't think this gal's probably watching, and hopefully she's not, because I don't feel like being bothered in this way.
Yeah.
She literally got on eCarrier Check. So this gal, here's what this gal does. She does credit card processing. Okay. She got on eCarrier Check and went through our sign up process. I friggin' love this. She gets to the very end and she's like, I figured out who they're using for credit cards.
Yeah.
Right. We use Stripe. That's who eCarrier Check's connected with.
Yep.
And it's wonderful. It's got incredible customer service. It's got incredible reporting. They really do care about the small tech company that's out there. Right. And maybe we pay a little more, but the service is really good. We're already connected. However, here's what I love is that she took the time to go through this whole thing. She knows our email because we're very vocal about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can get a hold of us. And she took the time to send me an email and say, hey, I see that you're using Stripe. I believe that I could save you money from this. Now, from my side of it as a buyer, it's not necessarily the money side of it that interests me, right? And so she missed what's a hot point for me. If she came to me and said, hey, here's a picture of our reporting, here's the percentages we take, and here's how easy it is to switch your website to our website, or from Stripe to there, then I would be like, oh, wow. So she's at a level, she took the time to go from a level 1 to a level 2 because she did the homework. Right. I love that. Yeah. Right. What would have taken her one more step is if she would have thought through, is it really a money play, or is this how do I make it more of a consultative sort of concept, or more value added concept, and would have said, hey, here's 3 things. Software doesn't want to change a process that's already built. Right. But if she would have addressed that, boom. If she had addressed the reporting, now she didn't know that that's what I like, right? But where I go with this is if you're on LinkedIn, right, and you're connected with a bunch of truck drivers, or you're connected with a bunch of shipping managers, boy, I tell you what, when you see one of those shipping managers comment, or when you see one of those shipping managers like something, and you're connected with them, what I'm a big fan of doing is actually either forwarding, you can private message, and I do this all the time. I sit next to you and I private message you constantly. Yeah. Hey, I loved this article, or I loved this statement. Yeah. The people that go on to LinkedIn and really pay attention, not surface level, but pay attention to who they like, what they're liking, what they're commenting on, and then sending it to them and saying, hey, I saw that you liked this. Here's why we address what we do. Boom. Yeah. Now we're hitting we're not shooting friggin' shells here. Now we're shooting sniper. Right there. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're hitting the target every time.
Yeah. No, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I think, LinkedIn is very powerful. And that's something I definitely tell people that, come to us, get on LinkedIn, man. Like, I think it's very powerful. Great way to connect professionally.
Yeah.
Nothing against Facebook, but LinkedIn is just where it's at for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've had a couple guys, and these are sales like coach guys that have emailed me, and they said, hey, what they did is they emailed me and said, hey, I saw that you liked a couple comments from Anthony and Arena, and I wanted to connect with you because we help people specifically around the sales channel, and I'd love to see if we could have 10 minutes where I can show you how we do it and why. Now, he didn't get my 10 minutes, but I loved that wittiness, that extra step of being more of a value creator instead of just a transactional guy. So trying to go from here to that a little bit deeper level, I think is really important.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
definitely.
You didn't have to pick up the phone. You're just being observant.
Right.
You're watching for patterns.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
And one other thing too, had on my list, and you may have some more to add here too, but this is just my list. But face to face, we're starting to hear more brokers, kind of going out there and networking face to face. They're tired of picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Let's go see someone face to face, shake their hand. Some people say it's hard to turn them away. Some people say it's not. Maybe it's bad timing, right? Maybe that guy's out to lunch or whatever it may be. But that is something I've been seeing and hearing is more face to face.
Oh yeah, I started as a door-to-door LTL sales guy,
right?
And back then it was pretty common. This was 08, 09.
Right.
It was pretty common for people to be out on the streets, walking indoors. Hey, who handles your shipping, right? And you walk in and hand them a flyer, or give them a business card, or give them some notepads, or donut drops. Back in the day, that was the value that you had, right?
That was the thing.
I think as we head as society, right, we're heading to this level where we're trying to get as independent as possible and never really talk to people. Grubhub.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to, you don't even have to go out anymore. You can get your groceries delivered. You can get your meals delivered. You can work from home. I mean, for the love of God. So if you're willing to go, clean it up and walk in a door, I think your rejection rate is going to be a lot less because you walked in, you looked presentable, you had a little, a little PDF that says, hey, I'm a local broker. This is what I do. Here's how I do it. And that same thing with dispatchers. I've heard people, Charles even talks about this, be safe about it, but go to a truck stop and ask some drivers how they do what they do. It's the same thing with shippers. Walk in. You may not get an appointment right away because people are busy, but guess what? Follow back up and say, hey, I provide this service. I'm a local guy. I wanted to build a local relationship and do that sort of thing. I think the other thing that's really interesting, and I don't know where a lot of people are where they live. You and I live in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, literally, like there's nobody here. But a lot of these larger cities have a transportation club. They have a logistics club, a little community that's been built, and people go out and socialize and have a couple beers and eat some chips, and they get to meet some people that are out there. Hey, what's working for you?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Community is lost in today's world, and I think it's important, even if it's just for your own damn mental health of talking to somebody, go out and build a relationship with somebody face to face and see what that exhilaration is about.
Right. I mean, you just never know who you're going to run into, and maybe they struggle the same struggles you're going through, right? So, that's new. That's new to me. I didn't know that they had those logistics clubs or things like that. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and normally it's just a drinking hour, and they get a little carried away.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun,
and
you meet some new people. But I can honestly say, if you're zigging instead of zagging, if they're getting 60 phone calls every day, right? And we've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
They're only getting 3 to 5 people walking in a day.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going to be one of the 3 out of the 5. And you'll get better each call, right? Evaluate the situation. Sure. Hey, I walked in, I looked clean, I had some business cards. I can't wait to see what David's business. I'm really intrigued, by the way. but I'm just going out and building a relationship and saying, hey, I'm sure you're getting a lot of calls. I wanted to introduce myself because I'm a local guy, and if there's a problem, I'm right here.
Right.
I'm with you, right? And I love that. I love face-to-face anything. I like to get out and network and build a community and say hi. And I really challenge everybody that's watching our shows to go out and actually try to make 10 calls this week. Just walk into somewhere, introduce yourself, and see if you can snag a load.
Yeah, I like that. It's a little bit challenger. I love it. We definitely hit a lot of good tactics or, ways to kind of, get a client without picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Anything else that comes to mind, in your time brokering that maybe helped you that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, I mean, if we recap it, right? I mean, we're working on a brand. No phone is needed, right? Referrals, right? You're focused on relationships. No phone is needed. I mean, theoretically.
Yeah.
Emails. We talked about zigging versus zagging, and I think that's really important right now. We talked about, the kind of unique or deeper concept of stalking, if you will. But it's that deeper aspect, and then face to face, right? There's 5 ways right there that you can go out and try to do things just a little bit different. Yeah. Right now, you're going to need it. We continue to see the numbers where brokers are going out of business, trucking companies are going out of business. Yesterday I had the opportunity to review some fuel things that were out and about as I was in Colorado. And diesel was over $5 a gallon.
Mm.
Boy, if that doesn't jump your operating expenses up as a driver, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's extremely expensive. Make sure that you're factoring that in when you're taking a load. Now, rates are also on a race to the bottom here.
Right.
But as far as what worked, if you're doing that face-to-face, make sure that you have a follow-up plan in place. Don't just walk in with purpose.
Yes.
Don't just follow up with purpose, right? Have a plan and stick to the plan and just say, hey, I know this is going to take time. I remember walking into this lady. She's actually about 2.5 miles over here.
Mm-hmm.
I walked into her office, good God, 3 to 4 times a month. Hey, what can I quote you today? What can I do to help you? And she really never gave me the time. I'm good. I got a carrier. You guys can't do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, to a certain extent, correct. We didn't service that lane the same level that she's been using another person.
Right.
So she was correct, right? But I finally figured out how to add enough value over a course of 6 to 8 months where I was like, hey, let me just address these things, right? Hey, from a shipper standpoint, what is the most important aspect of the current vendor that you have, right? And so asking really direct, very specific questions is so important. You're only as good as your questions that you ask.
Right.
Be ready with 5 questions and be ready to try to figure out what their issues are. Because it's not about you. It's about them and how you can help them get to their goals.
Right. Well put, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. That's well put. Good question, Tamika. Should we send out an email introducing our new brokered agents?
There's nothing wrong with introductory emails. There's nothing wrong with introducing yourself. Well, the only thing that I would do is I would try to add value, not just an introduction.
Okay.
How can you benefit them? What are trends that you're seeing? What are you focused on? Think about it from a standpoint. If I'm a shipper, I'm a shipping manager. If I see an open house, I'm going to probably just delete it.
Yeah.
Right. But if I see an open house with chips, I'm going to be like, yeah. Now, if they have beer, I'm probably going to be there. Right.
Right.
It added some value, maybe some entertainment for me. Right. In your particular case, if I wanted to send out an email, maybe try to add a little bit of value.
Okay.
And that value could be as simple as, here's 3 trends that we're seeing with fuel that could impact the South. Here's 3 things that we're seeing about this hurricane that's going to impact import-export in and out of Mexico, right? Here's what we're seeing from the retail high this year, or little things like that. There's a lot of trucking companies going out of business. How protected are you as a shipper? What does that mean to you as a shipper? are the carriers that you're working with okay? Right?
Right.
Add some value. Don't just introduce yourself. Add some value. I wanted to send out or drop off calendar to shippers, good, lead, or bad. I freaking love the calendar drop. I'm a big fan of it. The 2024. If you got stop by e-carrier check, I'll take 2.
Yeah.
But I like the calendar drop. It's a quick introduction. It's also a year-long brand that sits in their office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of it. So if you can do a calendar concept, I love it. We used to hand out. I worked for Nebraska Transport, Nebraska-based trucking company, LTL, and we would hand out Husker schedules, right? We don't have one here, but there were these little Husker schedules. They're about yay big. It had all the games, and they could put the scores on there.
Yeah.
And across the bottom of this thing was our big old friggin' black and yellow logo,
Okay.
and I loved it. And people would
different.
ask for them. They were like, "Hey, can I get one for my dad?" And
Yeah.
I loved it.
That's
I
awesome.
was a big fan of it. I like being unique. So Tamika, really, I appreciate your questions because you're thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Keep thinking outside of the box. I love that you're asking these questions, Tamika.
Yeah.
For those of you watching, honestly, throw out some sales or send any questions at all. We're here to help.
Yeah.
We want to try to add value to you guys, and see if we can help grow you.
Yeah.
So that's our
Or even
goal.
just help you get a little bit creative,
Yeah.
Now we don't think about everything, right? So, like Tamika had some good points that we didn't think of. So that's what
No,
we
I
do.
love that. This is our community.
Yeah.
We're growing each other.
Right.
We're trying to support each other. We're trying to stick together, and we're playing Red Rover right now. And we're just trying to send people over, and see who's breaking the line and not. So keep bringing the house.
Yeah. Well, Jared, I enjoyed our talk today.
That was wonderful.
At the end of the day, we're obviously, like I said, we're big believers in the phone, picking up that phone, making that call. But, hopefully we threw out some good ideas for those of you that are struggling with those phone calls or maybe wanted to be a little bit different. It's okay to be different, right? So hopefully we threw out some good value today for everyone. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we kind of end this out here?
I think all you should always think about when I send an email, when I'm networking, when I'm calling, how do I add value to other people? You should constantly be thinking of that question. And if you keep that in mind, it'll steer the direction you're heading.
Okay.
My wife and I had the opportunity to sit down and when we first got married and talk about our values, our beliefs, right? And though that conversation has steered our 18 years of marriage, has steered our parenting, has steered our financial aspect, right? It's no different in business. You got to set your beliefs, your goals, and you got to kind of just let people know what you believe in and what your culture is and what you're doing. I love that Tamika was like, "Hey, I'm doing this non-profit benefit. Should I share that?" Yes, I love that, right? Let's make an impact. You're only one relationship away from changing your life. We say that all the time on the show, and I'm a true believer in that. For you brokers that may be struggling, you're only one shipper away from changing your financial outcome, but you can't make it about you. You got to make it about them.
Well put, Jared.
Yeah.
Appreciate your feedback. Always do.
Yeah.
Guys, we appreciate you for being here, taking the time out of your day. Send us an email. Join a demo. We do demos every Monday live, so you get to see our beautiful faces. Let's talk shop.
Yeah.
We do have the recorded demos as well up, so don't be afraid to order one of those. Completely free, by the way. View on your own time. So let us know how we can help you and support you.
Absolutely.
But tune in Friday. We're going to show some of the site and just talk shop again. So
I love it.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.